First of all, though, let me address the very serious situation that is being confronted by Australians in New South Wales, but also in southeast Queensland and increasingly in other states. I'm advised that the rain and flood situation does remain dynamic and extremely complex. This is a complex weather event and becoming more complex. 100 millimetres of rain is forecast across saturated catchments today. Flood and severe weather warnings have been issued across the country, extending from southeast Queensland to the Victorian border. A trough on the east coast has merged with a trough extending from the Kimberleys to the east coast, causing heavy rain and inland flooding. This is moving to being not just a coastal event. Severe weather, high winds, damaging surf and heavy rain is forecast for the east coast today, and the system is causing heavy rain from Batemans Bay to the Victorian border as this storm moves south. The system is expected to ease by late Wednesday, but the floodwaters remain persistent for some time. Western New South Wales, north-eastern South Australia, south-western Queensland and eastern Western Australia have been affected by inland flooding. Brisbane and the Gold Coast have been impacted by heavy rain, and that is causing flash flooding. In terms of the response, 1,700 SES volunteers are responding to this event, supported by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service and Fire and Rescue Services. 18,000 people have been impacted by evacuation orders, 16 evacuation orders for 24 locations, 20 further evacuation warnings with 18 evacuation centres operating. I do note that particularly those evacuation centres in the Sydney metropolitan area have not been used to the extent that New South Wales authorities thought they may. People have largely gone to be supported by people in their homes, and the evacuation process in New South Wales and support for those individuals has been working extremely well, and I commend both those who are directly impacted and those who are helping them in their time of need, and the excellent planning that has been done by New South Wales authorities. I spoke to the Premier again this morning following my updates from Emergency Management Australia today, and as difficult as this issue is, people are remaining calm. We need them to continue to follow the instructions that are out there. If it's flooded, forget it. Don't go out for a surf. I say that to people, including in my own electorate, when I had reports of people going out there yesterday. Don't do it. You're putting not only yourself at risk, but you're putting those who would have to come to your assistance at risk also. And we urge you to follow the instructions of the local authorities on all of these matters. Rainfall is expected to be worse along the south coast, as I said earlier, with isolated falls of 300 millimetres possible. Rain and associated flooding will begin to cover a wider area of central New South Wales. Initial moderate warnings for catchments near Bathurst and Dubbo. At this point, I don't have advice that we're looking at an inland event that was similar to what occurred in North Queensland, which destroyed the North Queensland livestock industry, which has taken us the last 2 years to recover from. But we're watching that very closely. Potential for major flooding in the Murray Darling Basin catchment is anticipated, and major flooding may continue in the Hawksbury and Nepean until Friday due to forecast rainfall, and Western Sydney remains the area of greatest concern. The Warragamba Dam is expected to spill over for another 7 days at least. Telco impact assessments have not been completed in all areas, but several hundred homes have been flooded, roads damaged, livestock and wildlife loss. Telecommunications and power outages across the flooded areas have been reported. Telcos and power companies are standing by to re-establish power and communications. New South Wales have requested assistance for 2 search and rescue helicopters. That has already been activated and from the ADF, and right now they are assisting with evacuations from Colo to RAF Richmond. A request for assistance has also been put in by the New South Wales Government and is currently being assessed and planned for by Defence, which would see somewhere between 500 and 1,000 ADF personnel deployed and engineering support to assist with the clean-up. The Premier and I discussed this morning. I'm expecting a Cat C request to come through today, which will be actioned immediately, and the Premier and I will be working on that clean-up effort. We want this clean-up effort to be done swiftly and effectively to try and get these communities back on their feet as quickly as we possibly can. No lives, thankfully, still to this point have been lost, and we pray that will continue to be the situation. And we still have no persons reported missing as well. So amongst all of this terrible tragedy and the loss that is there, thankfully we have not seen that as yet. Resilience New South Wales is planning for clean-up and early recovery operations when flood waters recede. And I'm advised that 9,000 insurance claims have been received to date and are on standby to start assessments, that is the insurance industry, when they can get access to the flooded areas. Services Australia processed 2,579 claims up to 8 o'clock last night for financial support, and already $3.5 million has gone out the door. There are further more than 1,000 claims being worked on right now, and if you're in one of those areas and you require that assistance, that's those $1,000 payments for adults, eligible adults, and $400 payments for eligible children. You can get access to that on 180-2266. That number again, 180-2266. Your claim will be processed on the phone. There won't be the need to fill out all these forms at that point and go through all of those administrative processes, just as we did during the bushfires. You will get access to that as soon as possible. And Services Australia have surged their support in their call centres and other places to ensure that they can meet the demand that comes through. We have very competent agencies in our states. They do an excellent job in these situations. Where they need additional support, it will come and it will flow quickly. But I want Australians to feel confident, and particularly those in the affected area, that the state agencies and authorities who are tasked with these responsibilities are very, very good at their job. They are world class. You have the world's best out there looking after you today, and they will continue to be supported by the world's best in our federal agencies to ensure that you're getting every assistance that is needed. I'll be meeting with the Defence planners today and emergency management later this morning to run over the plans for the deployment of those supporting clean-up operations, and so we're in a position to give as swift a response to the New South Wales Government as we possibly can.